Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And we do have some surprising news today, as this is the only time on the channel that I have ever gotten to talk about a change of a release date that is not a delay. Yeah, I know we've had a lot of delays here in recent years, but Nintendo, they've decided they're going to change pace a little bit here, as they're going to be releasing a game a little bit earlier than what was previously expected, though this might have a direct impact on some of their other games as well, so we will go over that one later on in the video. Plus, we will be talking about some more Xbox Game Pass games, including some games that will be releasing later this month, as well as yet another publisher signing on for the Xbox Game Pass train. Per usual though, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button below, as it does help out the channel a ton. Plus, go and hit that bell notification and subscribe button as well, so you can keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news. Other than that though, let's just go and jump right into the video, starting off with Sonic Origins. Now, Sonic Origins is a retro collection that Sega had announced last year, but we haven't really heard much about this compilation since then. And there has been some excitement for this particular collection, because not only does it include Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic and Knuckles, but it also includes Sonic 3. Now, the reason the fans are excited about this particular title is because Sonic 3 hasn't been re-released on modern platforms since 2011. So yeah, it's been a little while, but it looks like the wait is finally almost over. A new rating has popped up over in South Korea for Sonic Origins, and a lot of times whenever you see something like this happen, an announcement oftentimes is soon thereafter. On top of that though, a new promotional image has also leaked online, reportedly found on PlayStation's servers. This image is being shared online, and it does appear to be the real thing, so with both of these things happening so close with one another, it does seem like Sega is planning for some type of an announcement here sometime soon, more than likely a release date. At the very least, if you are looking forward to this collection, as of this moment, it does look like Sonic Origins is on track to release sometime in 2022. Next up here, yet another Star Wars game has been announced, because, well, I guess we just don't have enough Star Wars games in development already, but this one is actually pretty interesting because the talent involved. If you remember right, Amy Hennig, which is most well known for her work on the original Uncharted trilogy as the creative director and writer, was actually working on her own Star Wars game over at EA. There was a lot of excitement for this particular game as well. I mean, you had Amy Hennig, the creative director on the Uncharted trilogy, and she's going to be working on the Star Wars franchise. Yeah, that's pretty exciting, but unfortunately that game just never came to fruition. It was eventually canceled by EA, and soon thereafter Visceral Games was dissolved. However, since then, Amy Hennig has bounced back on her feet, and she has her own studio now, being Skydance New Media, and this is where things get really exciting, because today it was officially announced that she will be working with Lucasfilm Games on a new Star Wars title. So after all of these years, she is actually going to get a second opportunity at the Star Wars franchise and just kind of realize her dream this time. This new Star Wars title is being described as a richly cinematic action-adventure game with an original story. So it does kind of sound like her original vision, and hopefully this time around, things will just go a little bit smoother. That's pretty much all they have announced though, which means that more than likely this is probably in early development, so don't expect this anytime soon. It's probably going to be years and years away before we officially get to see this game ourselves. To be fair though, you Star Wars fans, you all do absolutely have a lot to look forward to this generation, including the Jedi Fallen Order sequel. There's also a Star Wars first-person shooter being developed by Respawn. Quantic Dream, they're working on Star Wars Eclipse. Then you have that story-driven open-world Star Wars game being developed by Ubisoft Massive. There's also the KOTOR remake in development, and now on top of that, you have this as well coming from Skydance Media. Yeah, you all definitely have a lot to look forward to throughout this generation. Let's go and talk about Xbox Game Pass here for a moment though, because in a big surprise, it just announced 9 more games, because that's just kind of what they do. 7 of which, though, will be releasing throughout the rest of April. This includes F1 2021 and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, which both will be heading over to cloud. Then, as for your cloud, console, and PC games, you have 7 Days to Die. Then you have Bugsnax. We did talk about that one earlier in the month, which is actually quite interesting. You also have Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which, I mean, I like the name of that one. That was quite interesting. Then you have Unsold and Research and Destroy heading over to console and PC, both releasing day one into Xbox Game Pass. Now, at first glance, there's not really anything too major here releasing in the second half of April, but I still feel like there's a few games here that might be worth checking out. As I've said previously, Bugsnax, that one is actually one that I can speak for, and it's actually a pretty decent game. It's a game that released directly into PlayStation Plus when the PlayStation 5 first launched, and as absurd as this title looks, because it absolutely is, it's actually a pretty decent game. Yes, you're going around hunting these Bugsnax type of creatures, and it's weird and it's strange, but it's also oddly enjoyable with a pretty decent story to follow. So if you are looking for something to play, I would definitely recommend checking that one out when it releases into Xbox Game Pass on April 28th. You also have Unsouled, and this one here did catch my eye. This is actually a day one release as well, launching into the service on April 28th, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of something like Hyper Light Drifter. They do describe it as a punishingly difficult, albeit fair, action RPG, as you have to master the ability to execute various skill combos and counterattacks for maximum damage if you hope to survive. It does have an attractive pixel art style if you do like that type of thing, and again, this one will be launching into the service on April 28th. Then last but not least here, you also have Research and Destroy, and this is actually the first time I've heard about this game, but after watching a trailer, I thought it actually looked pretty decent. It's got a really unique comic book art style to it, and it's kind of like your typical horde style of game mode that you see in stuff in like Gears of War as an example, where you just fight waves and waves of enemies. But here you actually take control of 3 brilliant super scientists as you research and develop strange new weapons and gadgets to destroy the supernatural hordes that have all but apparently crushed humanity. So if you are looking for a fun cooperative style game, this one might be worth checking out when it releases into Xbox Game Pass on April 26th. So again, I feel like that there's a few games here that might be worth checking out throughout the rest of April, but for those that have been waiting for some of those bigger AAA style games, well, I actually have some news for you all as well. In a big announcement, they did also confirm that more Ubisoft games are coming to Xbox Game Pass. This includes Assassin's Creed Origins, which will include the library for cloud, console, and PC via the Ubisoft Connect app, and they will also be bringing For Honor Marching Fire Edition to PC via Ubisoft Connect app once again, and there's also going to be an upgrade to the Marching Fire Edition for cloud and console. So that is 2 big Ubisoft games that will be releasing into Xbox Game Pass over the next couple of months, and if you're counting, that would actually make 3 total big Ubisoft games that has released into Game Pass so far this year. Earlier this year, of course, they did release Rainbow Six Extraction into the service as well, and I think this is just kind of Ubisoft signing on to the Game Pass train. It does seem like that relationship is growing, or else, I mean, they wouldn't continue to release their games into Game Pass, and this is just yet another big publisher that seems on board for the Xbox Game Pass experience. And really with this announcement here and them saying that they're working with Ubisoft to bring more incredible games to Xbox Game Pass, I wouldn't be overly surprised if we start to see more Ubisoft games released into this service in the future as well. There are certain publishers out there that seem to have a pretty strong relationship with the Xbox Game Pass model, including Square Enix, you have EA of course, and now here possibly with Ubisoft as well. Moving on though, we did get some big Nintendo news today as they did change a release date for one of their upcoming titles, though again, this is not a delay. Rather, in surprising fashion, Xenoblade 3 will no longer release this September, but is now set to release on July 29th. They did confirm this today alongside a new trailer, which actually looks pretty good. You can actually see in the trailer for yourself. The characters in this game can take a completely new form. It does show some of the new gameplay and just overall how the story is shaping up. And I think if you're a fan of the Xenoblade franchise, you're probably pretty happy with the trailer today. It does look pretty good. I also think that the character design looks pretty good in this game. I know the community was a little bit more split on Xenoblade 2's character design for certain reasons and aspects, but I think from what we've seen so far, the character designs in Xenoblade 3, they look good. So I'm pretty happy with that overall, but you know, the fact that this game is releasing on July 29th, that is obviously the big news here. That just kind of came out of left field because, I mean, we're so used to hearing delays by this point. Who would have expected to see a game actually release ahead of schedule? But at the same time, I think that this is kind of telling on a few things when it comes to Nintendo. The first of which is something that we have been hearing about for quite a while, and that is that when Nintendo finishes their games, they aren't necessarily rushed to just release them as soon as possible. Rather, what Nintendo will do instead is that they'll just completely finish a game, and then what they'll do is they'll just kind of sit on a game and fill out some of the gaps within their schedule. So what that means is that Xenoblade 3 is one of those titles. It's a finished product, and now they're just trying to fill out a gap that might be a little bit more empty in their release schedule. So this very could possibly signify that another Nintendo title could be moving as well. Now, this could be a number of different games, but I think the one that probably makes the most sense here would be Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 had a very vague summer 2022 release date, and we've really seen hardly next to nothing about this game since. So that right there is the game that I'm kind of looking at. With Xenoblade 3 moving to July, there is a possibility that Splatoon 3 has now been pushed back to September or even later. Splatoon 3 is a big release for Nintendo, and they're not going to want to crowd this game too much, so it probably would have been a bad idea to have two of their biggest releases of the year to release right next to each other, being Xenoblade 3 and Splatoon 3. And since Xenoblade 3 is already ready, well, they can just simply move this back to July and give Splatoon 3 a little extra time in hopes that it does release later in the year. So that right there is kind of my prediction, but there's also some possibilities of other games as well. There's also Mario Strikers Battle League that is set to release this June, though that doesn't really conflict too much with July, so I don't expect it to be that. And then you do have Advance Wars Reboot Camp as well. That game unfortunately was delayed earlier this year, and as of this moment we don't have an official release date, so maybe they try to push that one to September. But either way, all of this really just comes down to speculation. What we do know for an absolute fact is that Xenoblade 3 is now set to release July 29th, and that alone is incredibly exciting. It is very nice to have a change of pace here. Instead of talking about a delay, we get to talk about a game that's releasing ahead of schedule. Now, speaking of Nintendo, as we talked about yesterday, both the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulator seemingly has leaked online. And now that data miners are starting to get their hands on these files as well, more and more things have been uncovered since. Yeah, Nintendo's probably not particularly too happy about this, but according to a known data miner by the name of Mondo Mega, it has been discovered that more than 40 games are either included or referenced within the leaked Game Boy Advance emulator files. Now, I'm not going to go over the entire list here myself because it is a lot of games, but I will leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out yourself. However, this does include some very exciting titles, including Castlevania Era of Sorrow. You also have Castlevania Circle of Moon, Golden Sun The Lost Age. It includes Mario Party Advance, Metroid Zero Mission, absolutely love that game. Also Metroid Fusion. You also have several Pokemon games, and it does include screenshots of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald as well. Wario Land 4 is on this list, and then you also have Zelda Minish Cap, and there's even footage of Zelda Link's Awakening DX running on the Nintendo Switch. So definitely some really good games that they have tested out running on these emulators, but, and this is very important, keep in mind that just because they tested these games out, it doesn't necessarily mean that these games will actually release into the service. So do kind of keep that in mind, but once again, it does look like this leak very much is a legitimate thing. Now we're just kind of waiting around to find out when this will actually release. The rumor currently is that it will release 1 year apart from the Nintendo 64 Nintendo Switch Online emulator, but I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, and as we talked about yesterday, it does look like Microsoft is building some type of ad program for free-to-play games. Now, it is being reported that these are non-intrusive ads, but I thought I'd go and ask you all, how would you feel if free-to-play games add non-intrusive ads, such as billboard placements? And well, based off the results here, the wide majority of you all are not overly bothered by this. 48% of you said that it doesn't bother you, while 24% of you said that it would annoy you, while the other 22% said that you don't like it, but you still understand it. So it does look like 70% of you all are not overly bothered by non-intrusive ads such as billboard placements being included in free-to-play games. And honestly, I am with you all on this one. It's really kind of hard to keep up with everything that gamers are supposed to be outraged by, but this is something that doesn't really bother me all that much, because this is for free-to-play games, and free-to-play games, they need to make their money somehow. While yes, there's a few very successful free-to-play games such as Fortnite, Apex Legends, and so on and so forth, there's also a lot of games that don't have that much success, and I mean, they're just not making any money because, well, they're free-to-play games. So this is an easy way for publishers and developers to kind of monetize these free-to-play games, and as long as they're non-intrusive like it's being reported, then it's not really going to have too much of a negative effect on gamers either. Now, if these are ads that come out and they take you out of the game, like with a 30-second video clip or some type of audio clip or something like that, then I'll completely change my mind and reverse what I'm saying here. But based off of what's being described here and these just being non-intrusive ads such as billboard placements, I mean, We already have product placements in shows and movies. I mean, we saw it in Death Stranding with Monster Energy drinks. I just don't think that this is a big problem for these to be included in free-to-play games, especially, again, if they are non-intrusive. But hey, that's just my own personal opinion. Everybody's going to feel different, and that's perfectly fine as well. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.